Okay, hi Carissa. This lecture is intended for you to better understand noun. So we'll talk about balarila ng Filipino Aralin 1 or pangalan. So pangalan is noun in English. Okay. Now we all know that in the English language, nouns can be classified into proper or common noun. We also have abstract noun. We also have mass noun or countable noun or count noun. It's also important for us to understand that nouns can either be compound nouns or nouns that are roots. Okay, so nouns may be roots. For example, you have here the word bata, okay, which means child. Now, the symbol like this emphasizes the stress in the word, and then this symbol here means that it's a glottal stop. It's a sudden stop. So you don't say bata, you say bata. Okay? So bata means child, bahay means house, aso means dog. So all of these words shown on the screen are examples of Filipino words or Tagalog words that are roots. Another one, we have bundok, okay, which means mountain. Bato, bato, stone. Mesa or la mesa means table. Oras, it means hour or time. So it could either exact hour or the time itself. Libro is book, or you could also call book as aklat. So there are two translations for this one. It could be libro or aklat. And then fork is tinidor, spoon is kutsara, place is lugar, lugar. However, you can also call place in Filipino as pook. Okay, it's spelled as P-O-O-K, pook. Okay, and then chair is silya, silya, or it could also be upuan, upuan. Okay, and then we have pillow, unan, unan. And then key, susi. So you don't say susi because there's a glottal stop here. So you say susi, susi. Okay? Ilog, okay, for river. Now, aside from roots, we also have nouns that are formed using affixation. It means that it's either you put a prefix or a suffix or a circumfix to a root. Example, if the root word is bata, which means child, and when you affix the prefix ka and suffix an to bata, the word changes to kabataan and the meaning also changes. So if bata means child, kabataan means youth. Okay. Next one, oras, hour or time. So this one is the root. And then if you affix the suffix an, you say orasan, and the meaning changes to clock. Okay. Next one, bahay. It means house if it's a root. But if you affix the prefix kapit to form the word kapit bahay, it means neighbor. Okay. Trabaho, it means work. And then when you affix the prefix ka, it becomes katrabaho, which means workmate. Klase, class, affix it with the word ka, with the prefix ka, the word becomes kaklase, which means classmate. So if you notice, if you affix the prefix ka for trabaho, klase, they become like a workmate or a classmate. But this one is not true to all words. Okay, it does not mean that ka means only mate. Okay, there could be other meanings for the prefix ka. So let's talk about some nouns. So we have nouns that are countable or count nouns, and we call them nabibilang. Okay, because if you notice, nabibilang comes from the root bilang, which means count. So nouns in Filipino can be nabibilang, count or count nouns, or it could also be hindi nabibilang, okay, or uncountable or mass nouns. So the things that I'll be presenting in the next slides are examples of uncountable or mass nouns, okay? So here we have asin, asin for salt, paminta, for pepper, regardless if it's ground or peppercorn. Okay, so you say paminta. Gaw-gaw, okay, it means starch. Harina, harina for flour. Okay, and for sugar, we call it asukal, asukal. Okay, you also have coffee, kape, kape. White rice, we say bigas, bigas. Now, don't be confused between bigas and kanin. Bigas is the uncooked rice, but once rice is cooked, the Filipino translation would be kanin, kanin. Okay, so don't use bigas if you're referring to cooked rice already. Next one, we have mung beans. This one is called munggo in Filipino, munggo. Corn, it's called mais, mais. And then glutinous rice or sticky rice, we call it as malagkit, malagkit. For the liquids, we have, of course, milk is gatas, gatas. Water, tubig, tubig. Chocolate, regardless if it's a liquid or a drink or not, it's always called as chocolate, chocolate. Okay. For tea, we say chaa, chaa. And for specific ginger tea, we say salabat, salabat. Okay. Next one. Soil is lupa, lupa. If it's sand, you say buhangin, buhangin. If it's dust, you say alikabok, alikabok. Okay. Next one, let's go to other examples of mass nouns. Silver is pilak, pilak. Gold is ginto, ginto. Copper is tanso, tanso. And then iron or metal is bakal, bakal. Next one, we have other condiments that we use in our kitchen. So for soy sauce, we call this toyo, toyo. Okay, not toyo, it's toyo. Okay, there's a glottal stop here on the last syllable. Okay, vinegar, we call it suka, suka. Okay, do not say suka because suka has a different meaning. It's like puke or vomit. But if it's vinegar, you say suka. So you really have to emphasize the glottal stop on the last syllable. Okay. And then we have fish sauce. We call this patis, patis. Okay. Cooking oil, we call it mantika, mantika. Excuse me. And then we also have hot sauce or chili sauce or pepper sauce. We call this pampaanghang, pampaanghang, because anghang is spicy in Filipino. Okay, pampaanghang. Other objects are, we have this one, bulak, bulak, which means cotton. Okay, papel, papel, which means paper. Tela, tela, it means cloth or textile. Okay, and then sinulid, sinulid for thread. Okay, for needle, we call it karayom, karayom. Okay, for needle. And then we also have usok, usok for smoke. Okay, and then either it's air or wind or breeze, we call it hangin, hangin. Okay, and we also have lightning and thunder that go together. So in Filipino, we call them kidlat for lightning and kulog for thunder. Okay, kidlat and kulog. And then if it's rain, we say ulan, ulan. If it's typhoon, we call it bagyo, bagyo. Okay, I hope you're following. Now, remember these rules on grammar. Mass nouns cannot be preceded with a pluralizer quantifier mga since they do not indicate plurality of number. Okay. Now, I mentioned in our class that mga is a word that makes the noun, the Filipino noun, plural. So when you say mga mag-aaral. So it makes mag-aaral as a plural form of its noun. So it means the students. Okay? So the rule here is you cannot use mga if the word next to it is mass noun. So you cannot say mga toyo, or soy sauces. That's wrong, right? So you say toyo only. You do not make it plural like mga. However, if you put like a quantifier to it, let's say bote ng toyo or bottles of soy sauce. So you can say mga bote ng toyo, but not mga toyo. Okay? Mass nouns differ from count nouns in that a numeral cannot precede them without a quantifier in between. For example, if we say isang dakot na bigas, we say one handful of rice, but you cannot say isang bigas, right? Because isang bigas is uncountable, you cannot count it, so you cannot put a quantifier isa. So in order for us to be able to use isa, which is a numeral here, we have to insert dakot, means handful, to quantify rice. Okay? So that's why we say isang dakot na bigas, one handful of rice, and not isang bigas. That's wrong. Same is true with isang baso ng tubig. You cannot say isang tubig or one water because water is uncountable. So we have to put a quantifier here, baso or glass. So in English, it's one glass of water. Dalawang tasa ng kape, 2 cups of coffee. Okay? 3 sako ng buhangin, 3 sacks of sand, 6 na karton ng gatas, 6 boxes of milk. Okay? I hope you're getting this one. So in short, the pattern is you have the numeral first, like this, isa, dalawa, tatlo, 6. Quantifier, example, dakot, baso, tasa, sako, karton. The linker, it could be na or nang. So we know that the rule here is we use na if the preceding word ends with a consonant, such as dakot na bigas. We do not say dakot ng bigas. We say dakot na bigas. But if the word preceding the linker ends with a vowel, then we use nang. So we say isang baso ng tubig or isang basong tubig, okay, the shortened version. And the last word should be the mass noun. Okay, so just remember the pattern so that you can easily follow how to structure mass nouns along with their quantifier and numeral. Okay? Now, mass nouns can only be used after the interrogative pronoun gaano, how much, and never after the interrogative countable pronoun ilan, or how many. Right? Because when you say how many, that means the word next to it should be countable. Right? You should be able to count the word next to it. So, if the word next to the interrogative pronoun is, let's say, a mass noun, something that you cannot count, you have to use gaano or how much. So it's wrong to say ilang bigas, right? Because you're asking how many rice, and rice is uncountable. So instead, you say gaano karaming bigas or how much rice. Okay, so we use gaano, and then we added karami to mean much, and then bigas, rice. Now, when mass nouns are preceded by quantifiers, they are included in a phrase that occur with ilan. Okay, so if you notice, if we go back here, I mentioned that a quantifier is very important in order to make the mass noun countable. That's why here we say ilang baso ng gatas, how many glasses of milk. So you cannot say gaanong baso ng gatas, okay? Because you don't say how much glasses of milk, right? So you say ilan or ilang baso ng gatas, ilang bote ng tubig, ilang kutsara ng paminta, ilang kutsarita ng asin, at ilang galon ng toyo. Okay, so we use ilan plus the quantifier plus the linker and then the mass noun. Okay, again, do not use gaano for uncountable noun. Okay, I mean, yeah, for uncountable noun. Next one. Nouns can also be classified as common nouns or pambalana. So we call common nouns as pambalana and proper nouns as pantangi. Okay. Now, common nouns are preceded by the noun markers ang and nang. Okay, remember this. We use ang and nang for common nouns. But for proper nouns or pantangi, we can use si, ni, or kai. Okay. For example, we say, ang mag-aaral. So mag-aaral or student is a common noun, right? It's not specific. So we can use ang mag-aaral or the student. Or we can also say, silya ng mag-aaral, ng. So ng here shows property, shows ownership of the silya by the mag-aaral or the student. So we say student's chair. Now, we can use si, ni, and kai if the word next to this is a proper noun. So it has to be a proper noun. So you say proper noun plus it should be a name for a person. Okay, name for a person. Let's say si Peter. In English, it's only Peter. So there's no direct translation for the word si. Okay, so in Filipino, we say si Peter or Peter. Silya ni Peter or Peter's chair. Ang silya na ito ay kay Peter, or we say this chair is Peter's. Now, question. If it's stated here that phrases with proper nouns can use si, can we also use si before a name for a place, like a proper noun for a place? Example, Spokane. Is it correct to say si Spokane? Okay, the answer is no, it's incorrect. Again, you use si if the word next to it is a name for a person or a label for someone, a living object, okay, or a living thing rather. Okay, for example, if you name it, if it's a name for a dog or a pet cat, so you can use si and then the name of your pet, but not for places. You do not say si Gonzaga University. Okay, you can say ang Gonzaga University or the Gonzaga University. Okay, although it does not really agree to the rule that ang is used for common nouns. Okay, but places, names for places here are an exception. Okay. Next one, common nouns are pluralized. I already mentioned this one, that mga is the word that can be added before a noun to make it plural. Okay, so you say common nouns are pluralized by adding the particle mga before the noun it modifies. And proper nouns are pluralized by changing si to sina. So when you say ang mag-aaral, so mag-aaral is student, right? So you only mean the student. But the moment that you add the word mga, it pluralizes the word mag-aaral. So when you say ang mga mag-aaral, you mean the students. Okay? Ang simbahan, the church. Ang mga simbahan, the churches. Okay? And if you notice here, if the word next to the marker si is a proper noun, okay, it should be singular. Okay, so you say, si Pablo ay isang magsasaka, or Pablo is a farmer. But if there are two proper nouns already, you don't use si anymore. Instead, you use sina. Okay? Sina Pablo at Max ay mga magsasaka, or Pablo and Max are farmers. Again, use si if the word or the proper noun next to it is singular, and use sina if the proper nouns next to it are plural. Okay? Now, how about for names of places? I mentioned a while ago that you cannot use si for places, right? Names of places and other non-personal nouns are treated like common nouns. So they are treated like common nouns and are preceded by noun markers ang, nang, and sa. Okay? So you say, ang Spokane ay isang magandang lugar, or Spokane is a beautiful place. So you cannot use si Spokane. That's wrong. Ang Spokane ay isang magandang lugar. Or, ang lungsod ng Spokane ay maganda. The city of Spokane is beautiful. Or, as I mentioned, sa functions as like a preposition in the Filipino grammar. So you say, nakapunta na ako sa Spokane. I have been to Spokane. Okay? So again, if the word next to it is, or if the noun next to it is a place, a proper noun for a place, you can use ang, nang, or sa. Okay. Now, common nouns like nanay, or mother, or tatay, father, sometimes may take the proper noun marker si instead of ang when they are used as a name. Now, sometimes we choose not to mention the name, right? Instead, we mention the attributing a feature of that person. So for example, if we say nanay, of course, we cannot call our mother on a first name basis, right? So we say mom or dad or nanay or tatay or inay or itay. So in that case, nanay should be considered like a proper noun, although it's a common noun. Okay? So you say, si nanay ang nagluto nito. You do not say ang nanay ang nagluto ito. You don't say the mother cooked this. Okay? So if you're referring to a specific person, a definite person, you use si. Si nanay ang nagluto nito, or mother or mom cooked this. Si tatay ay isang police. Father or daddy is a police officer. Binisita ko si kuya. I visited my older brother. Okay? And the same is true for names of your pets. Okay? Now, in the Filipino culture, we are very fond of naming our pets after their color or distinguishing feature. Okay? So, example, we say, si Bantay ay nasa pintuan. Bantay means guard. And this is the very usual name for pet dogs in the Philippines. So we say, si Bantay ay nasa pintuan. Bantay is at the door. So we use si here. Natutulog si Mingming. Mingming is sleeping. Mingming is a name for a cat. Okay, so we use si also. Ito ay kay Whitey. So Whitey here is a name for a dog. So we say this is Whitey's. Now, when nouns are not marked by ang, nang, and sa, they are indefinite. Now, there are nouns when we write them in a sentence and when we are not sure who's being referred to by these nouns, we don't put any we don't put any particle or determiner. For example, when you say a child is crying in English, you can use the determiner a, right, to denote or to mean that the child here is indefinite. It could be any child. But in Filipino, we don't have a direct translation for a. So we say only bata ang umiiyak or child is crying. But in English, it should be a child is crying. Bag ang nawawala. A bag is lost. Guro ang tinatawag. A teacher is schooled. Okay? Nouns are used without any of the noun markers in the vocative. Okay, so when you say vocative, it's like a sentence that portrays like you're calling someone. Okay, for example, when you say "Oy Pedro," okay, you say "Hey Pedro." So you don't say "Oy si Pedro," okay, because the meaning will change. It will mean, "Hey, it's Peter," or "It's Pedro." Okay, but when you say "Oy Pedro," you're calling Pedro, so you say "Hey Pedro." Okay, "Hoy lalaki," "Hey man." Okay, you do not say hoy si lalaki. You cannot use si because lalaki is a common noun also. Okay, I hope you're following. Now, there are some Filipino nouns also affixed with ka, the prefix ka, plus suffixes like an or han that fall within the category of mass nouns because they are not countable. Okay, this type of noun can occur with the marker ang and denote the quality or some concept found in the base. Okay, these are called abstract nouns. Okay, for example, when you say tapang, it means brave. Okay, but when you affix it with the prefix ka and suffix an, it becomes katapangan. So you can say ang katapangan, which directly translates to the bravery of blah 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 blah. Ang kaligayahan. Okay, ligaya means happy. Ka-han makes it a noun, so it becomes kaligayahan. Ang kaligayahan, the happiness. Sipag means diligent. So when you add suffixes, affixes ka and an, it becomes kasipagan, and sipag becomes a noun, kasipagan. It means the diligence. Ang katalinuhan, talino means intelligence, but when you say katalinuhan, it also means the same, the intelligence. So you can add ang as your marker. Ang katalinuhan, ang kalungkutan, or the sadness. Now, please bear it in your mind that Filipino language does not have direct translation for gendered nouns. Okay, for gendered nouns. For example, we don't have a marker or a particle that can be placed before or after the word to make it like female or other genders. Okay. Now, the sex of a noun is often determined by the context in which it is used or by putting the words explicitly, lalaki or babae. So you can really put the words lalaki or babae to really mean the correct gender or sex for that noun. Example, if you say kapatid, it means sibling. But when you put kapatid na babae, it means sister. Okay? Because babae means female, lalaki is male. Anak na lalaki, if it's anak only, it can mean to any child. Okay, child. But when you put na lalaki, you're emphasizing son. Pinsan na babae or pinsang babae. Pinsan is cousin. It's general. But when you put babae, it means female cousin or girl cousin. Pamangkin na lalaki, nephew. Pamangkin na babae, niece. Okay, I hope you're getting the pattern here as well. So some words here, some nouns, mostly Spanish loan words or borrowings, however, mark gender by using the suffixes o for male and a for female. Okay, so you can actually notice this one very easily because oftentimes nouns that end with o are male nouns. And then those that end with a, they are female nouns. Example, if it's director, which translates to director, okay, the feminine counterpart is directora or directress. Manong o manong, older brother. Manang, older sister. Senyor, master. Senyora, mistress. Tío, uncle. Tía, aunt. Maestro, teacher. Maestra, teacher. But don't be confused, you can also use guro. Okay, for both male and female, it's just that it's not gender specific. So if you want to be gender specific, you can use maestro, maestra, or guro na lalaki, guro na babae. Okay, konsehal or counselor, konsehala. Okay, doktor, doktora. I'm sorry, the spelling should be D-O-K. Okay, lolo, lola, abogado for lawyer. And if it's a female lawyer, you say abogada. Ninong, godfather. If you're talking about your godmother, it's ninang. Okay? Okay, do you have any question? I hope everything is clear. So if you have questions regarding this brief lecture, you can always shoot me an email. You can ask me regarding things that you want to be clarified about. So just to give you an idea also, in the class we had this brief practice for nouns. So let's try this one. I'll explain to you the answer so that you will also have some guide on how we did it. Okay. So if vinegar is to suka, oil is to, so you have to review the vocabulary also so that you will master them. Mantika. Milk is to gatas, as coffee is to, what's the Tagalog for coffee? Okay, it's kape. Blank is to asin, as pepper is to paminta. So what's the English for asin? It's salt. Okay. Sugar is to asukal, as blank is to bigas. What's the English for bigas? It's rice. Cotton is to bulak, as thread is to, what's the Filipino for thread? It's sinulid. Okay. Director is to director, as blank is to directress. What's the female counterpart for director? Okay. You say directora. Lolo is to grandfather, as blank is to grandmother. What's the Filipino version of lolo? Okay, female version is lola. Uncle is to tío, as blank is to tía. What's the English for tía? It's aunt. Okay. Now let's go now to identifying mistakes in a sentence. So we say, ang Pablo ay isang guro, or Pablo is a teacher. Now, do you think the sentence is correct? Ang Pablo ay isang guro, or Pablo is a teacher? Okay. Is it correct or incorrect? Now, the correct answer for this one is mali, okay, or incorrect. Why? Because we cannot use ang if the word next to it is a proper noun. Again, for proper noun, singular, we use si. Proper noun, plural, we use sina. So in this case, we have to say, si Pablo ay isang guro. Okay, second one. Oy, ang Marisa, or hey Marisa. Now, is it correct that we use ang before Marisa? Okay, the answer is mali, or incorrect. It should be oy Marisa only. Because if you use Ang here, ang translates to the. So you say, hey, the Marisa. Okay, it's grammatically incorrect. So you say, oy, Marisa only. Number 3, nakapunta na ako sa lungsod ng Manila. Or in English, I have gone to Manila City. Now, is the use of the word sa correct in the sentence? Sa lungsod ng Manila? Correct answer for number 3 is, okay, it's tama. Okay, it's correct. Nothing wrong with this sentence. Number 4, si Idaho ay isang magandang lugar, or Idaho is a nice place. Is it tama o mali? Okay, this one is actually mali. Okay, again, Idaho, a name for a place, although it's a proper noun, remember that names for places are treated like common nouns. So we cannot use si or sina. Instead, we can use ang or the, or in English, it doesn't have direct translations. We say, ang Idaho, or Idaho is a nice place. Okay? Number 5, gaanong kutsara ng asin ang kailangan, or how many spoons of salt are needed? Is the use of gaano correct in the sentence? Okay, the answer is mali. It should be ilang kutsara ng asin ang kailangan, or how many spoons of salt are needed. Remember, gaano means how much, and you cannot say how much spoon because spoon is countable, right? So you say how many spoons of salt or ilang kutsara ng asin. Number 6, ilang kutsarita ng asukal, or how many teaspoons of sugar? Tama o mali? Okay, correct answer is tama. Okay, because ilan means how many. Kutsarita, teaspoon. So you say ilang kutsarita or how many teaspoons of sugar. Sa Alex ay nag-aaral sa Gonzaga. Alex is studying at Gonzaga. Is the use of sa before Alex correct? Is it tama? Mali. Okay. Number 7, it's actually mali. Okay. Again, we use sa for places only. Okay. It should be si Alex because Alex is a proper noun, a name for a person. Okay? And I think this is the last one. Ang guro ay nag-uusap. And then the translation provided is, the teachers are talking. Ang guro ay nag-uusap, the teachers are talking. Is it tama o mali? Okay? Number 8, the correct answer is mali. Okay? It's incorrect because the sentence, the English translation is, the teachers are talking. So it has to be plural. Teachers, plural, are plural. That means our translation to Filipino should also be plural. You cannot say ang guro because it only means the teacher. So to make it plural, we have to add mga. Ang mga guro. Okay? So I hope that you have now understood, Carissa, the proper use of these words. So if you have further questions regarding this lecture, please do not hesitate to send me an email, okay, or message me regarding your points for clarification. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope this one helps.